We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
everything theater. Yes. Hi there. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs. And I would say, outside the weather is beautiful.
Very nice out.
There you go.
It is quite beautiful.
And inside it's beautiful too.
The girls are beautiful. No, that's a different show. We're talking about Beautiful, the musical, which is playing right now over at Capital Repertory Theatre. And we've got two of the stars with us, Shannon Rafferty and David Girard, local performers. You're getting to stay right at home and do pro theater and then killer show. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
I got a quick question. It seems that everybody's doing beautiful this year. Why do you think, and it's been around, why do you think now? What about the show speaks to this moment?
Well, I think the rights just became available to do regionally, which is a big part of it. But it's also, I think, somewhat relevant still. More than somewhat. It is very relevant. It's a touching story, and Carole King is having another moment in the sun. So
I should point out, there's two couples. There's Carole King and her husband, their story, Jerry Coffin, and who was not a nice man.
He's not a nice man, but he has some mental health issues and doesn't always make the best decisions.
But
I think our Jerry's really good. I think there's a couple people in the show that have done this production before. And Nikita, who plays our Jerry. There are other productions, sometimes they boo Jerry at the curtain call, which I was like, really? Oh my gosh. But he gives him an emotional depth. And he's just so likable. And so to see this character kind of spiral during the show, I feel like his portrayal, I think you empathize with this portrayal than maybe you would in other portrayals, because they did stay friends, and they got together very young, and it was during a very like different and interesting and transitional time in this country, and certainly in the rock music scene, and even politically. So there was a lot going on, and so I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he just makes bad decisions.
You, on the other hand, I'm going to get back to your role, David, but Shannon, you play the wife of the other couple, and they went on forever.
Yes, so I play Cynthia Weil, and Barry Mann was her husband and partner musically. And yes, they were together until she passed away last year.
Wow.
So quite some time.
And quite the dynamic writing duo. This is not just a story about people, but it's a story, it's really our history musically at an inflection point in this country. And they captured the zeitgeist of it and continued to do that. The brilliance, the genius of it.
Yeah, they were married 67 years. Which in that industry, anybody married for like 60 plus years in the music or entertainment industry is like, that's impossible. It's
almost unheard of. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because it gives like, we're all nerds. We're all acting nerds. Nikita, Shannon, Elizabeth, Taylor, the five of us are real acting nerds because we're playing real people. And everybody did a lot of research. And so, when you kind of do that deep dive and you realize that they fall in love during the show, and you're like, oh, and by the way, they stayed together for 67 years till she died. So it's wonderful. It really is. It's beautiful.
And the show, Tim's, implies that it was not a quick marriage. They were together for quite a while before she conceded to actually marrying him. Is that based in fact, or is that some creative license there?
There's a bit of creative license there. They were married sooner than it says that they are in the show. But yes, that is a fun part of the show that I I quite enjoy. But yeah, I do believe they were married a bit sooner than it's portrayed in the show. And David, it wasn't quite so long.
You're a manager. You play the manager.
Yeah.
Not much of a stretch for you, huh? No.
Record producer. Let's get that. I don't manage these people. He didn't manage these people, you know, because they didn't just write for Donnie Kirshner. They also wrote for Phil Spector and a few of the other big heavyweights of that time. I mean, Phil Spector's story gets so dark. It's amazing that he doesn't show up as a character in this show, but then you're like, well, you know, he died in jail. He was kind of probably. Well,
he is mentioned.
He is mentioned. He's definitely mentioned.
He is mentioned. Yes. I have a line that says, Phil Spector said this would be an important song for us.
Right.
Which it does turn out to be.
Right. And he works with he ends up working with the Righteous Brothers quite a bit. He becomes their guy. And he comes up with the recording, the wall of sound, this idea of using really, really talented session musicians. But Donnie Kirshner was also kind of part of that, and that sort of eventually brill building crew. And it was kind of interesting, like, you know, and it worked its way into how I listen to the music in the show, and the sort of inner machinations that this character has as far as like assigning a certain song to a certain group, whether it's for the Shirelles or the Drifters or the Chopins or whatever. And I just came across this like really great tidbit. Time magazine called him the man with the golden ear. And so that, in a way, it works itself in a non sort of literal way, as far as like how I listen to the music when either it's Cynthia Barry playing something for me or Jerry and Carole are playing something for me. And he was just a fascinating guy. He's the guy that kind of came up with the Monkees eventually, which is insane, totally insane, because they're completely a creation, you know. They're not really a group, you know. There's even a great line in the show where he's like, they're just like the Beatles, except they're not British, they're American, and well, they're not really a group, but they play a group on a sitcom about a group, but you know, so he's a really, really fun guy. It's a fun track. And my mom was like, she was at first not going to come see the show because I got cast in the show, and she goes, "What are you singing?" And I'm like, "I don't really sing. I'm the guy that doesn't sing. I sing part of 'You Got a Friend' near the end of the play, but I don't sing." And even Maggie, when she first cast me, she goes, "We'll probably find something for you. There's nothing for me to sing. There's nothing for me to sing, you know." And my mom's like, you're doing a musical at Cap Rep and you're not singing?" And I was like, yeah. She goes, "I don't know if I want to come see this. I'm not sure I want to come see this." But she's coming. She's definitely coming to see the show. It is a fantastic cast, top to bottom. It's just filled with talented people, super, super talented people. And it's a great book. It's not like a crappy kind of jukebox musical. It's got a real book with heart.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I'm not a fan of jukebox musicals in general, but Beautiful, I feel, is like a different level. Because for one thing, it's just so much heart to the story. And then also you don't realize what impact Carole King and Cynthia Weil, you know, had on the music industry. Like, especially in the beginning, when they start playing her songs that she didn't sing, you're like, oh my God, she wrote that song? Like, wow, yeah. It just blows your mind. So how did you guys kind of like think about that in terms of the impact these characters had on the music industry and how it changed throughout time? Because we see going from the 50s up through the, you know, getting to the 70s, and like there's a new sound, and how do we match that? How did you tackle that vocally or character-wise?
Well, vocally, I don't sing more of the later style in the show. I tend to sing more of the like 50s kind of poppy section. But Yeah, I mean, they had an incredible impact on the music industry, and even, prior to going into this show, and before I knew uh Beautiful, like the musical at all, I knew these songs. Like they're very familiar to me just from growing up and like hearing my mom play them on the radio, or whatever. She was a big Carole King fan too. But yeah, it's an amazing they had an amazing impact on the music industry.
I knew nothing about this show. Zero. Shannon made so much fun of me. I don't know if you know. I mean, I think you know this, Benita, but Shannon and I co-own a bar in Troy.
Yeah.
And we both kind of found out about the same time. Maggie gave us a lot of lead time, letting us know, listen, I want to cast you in the show, blah, blah, blah. And so, Shannon was like on it, she's like, she knows the show, music. I didn't do any of that at all. And I'm a quick study. I had a lot of other projects I was working on, so I was like, I'm like, Shannon, I think you have a bigger track than I do. She's like, are you going to read the script? Like, what? And I'm like, you know what? You do you. I think I'm going to be fine. And so
that's why it's funny that he didn't know he was singing, because he didn't read the script.
I didn't. And it's not that I'm lazy or anything. It's just that I didn't want to get ahead of myself project-wise. So when I started kind of looking, at the show, and particularly from what you're asking, Alan, which is the sort of dramaturgical standpoint, what I love in this show, and I think Howard does such a great job, our costume designer, is, I mean, especially my costumes, but I would say actually Shannon's costumes in the show. Cynthia Weil, she was well known for dressing well. And it gets mentioned quite a bit.
Definitely get best dressed in the show.
Yeah, she gets some great costumes. But you can kind of track me too from this sort of like more traditional three-piece suit wearing 1950s kind of dude. It's almost like I get younger as the show goes on. I mean, I don't, right? Obviously, we're all aging, but my costumes get like just flashier and like my last two costumes. I mean, I look like I just look like I just walked up the set of Saturday Night Fever. I mean, they're like really, very different from where we start. So that, I think in a lot of ways, that helps tell us some of the story in the passage of time, and how that meets, particularly all the ensemble and how they're dressed, how that meets the music, I mean, the style, the fashion, and how that kind of interacts with the music in this show is absolutely integral. And I think Howard, I think he hits it out of the park. The design on this show, the scenic, the projection mapping, the sound design, costume design, it's really,
top notch.
It really is. Ellen, you and I did Midsummer Night's Dream together, and we were talking about how spectacular that design was, and how these designers are really starting to figure out how to design in this theater, because it is tricky because of how three-quarter thrust it is and how big and wide the upstage is. They're really figuring it out now. And this show, I'll tell you what, I looked it up, run times of other productions throughout the country. We're easily 10 minutes shorter than anybody else. And that's a tribute to Maggie, her transitions, and how tight this cast is. Easily 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you, this is the swiftest, tightest production of Beautiful, I think, going on anywhere. I looked at these run times, and it can get long. That first act is the bear. The first act is huge. But it's like, you don't feel it with this production. It moves.
Let me point out, you run through August 18.
We do, yes.
There's an opportunity, you'll see this and get on out there. We've talked a lot with folks from theaters all over the country about the hangover from the pandemic and how people still want happy when they get to the theater. They want to be delighted.
Mm.
That's not to say that this show is saccharine by any stretch.
No, it's not. There's a lot of depth to it, actually.
And it's a woman's story, which the timing right now, so it resonates in a different way than it may have even when it opened a couple of years ago.
When she decides to end things with Jerry, and she finally makes that really difficult decision, I mean, it's one of the biggest cheers. And not like screw you, Jerry, you suck. You know what I mean? It's not like, you're a bad guy. It's more like, yay, Carole. Yes.
Yeah, way to stand up for yourself. Like, yeah.
It's great. It's nice to hear that backstage, to hear that reaction from the audience. And you hear the women. You hear the women very loud and clear in the audience. You hear the guys, but you definitely hear the women, right? And I think that's, and there are some really incredibly poignant moments in the show. And it is wildly funny. I mean, it's a very, very funny show. Shannon and Taylor they have some of the best lines in the show. They just have, like, almost every one of their lines, at least early on, is a punchline. They just, I have a couple entrances where I have to really time it right because I don't want to distract, you know what I mean, from one of their lines. I just happen to be entering during certain moments like that, that are really, like, just wildly funny, just really, really funny, and not too cheap either. I mean, it's a punchline, but there's some really, Shannon's guys. She's got like 5 or 6 really great, like, just cuts through, laugh out loud funny lines in the show.
Shannon, you ought to hire him to do your PR. He's good.
I guess I need to, huh?
I just come on stage and walk and talk.
Yes, David, keep talking more. Come on.
My whole track is ba-da-da-da. This song goes here. Ba-da-da-da, exit, ba-da-da-da, exit. Big long ending of the first act where I eat some food, got an intermission, go back on, change some costumes, sing a little bit of one song, blah blah blah, get some cheers. It's I'll be sitting at the table upstairs in the green room eating while people are like,
every time I'm exiting. I'm exiting for the end of Act 1. He's upstairs having a whole meal.
That locomotion number, that looked really hard on the monitor.
Very silly.
But going back to how you're saying it's a woman's story, I think it's really interesting that they didn't say, let's just do Carole King, right? They included Cynthia Weil and Barry, obviously. But really, I feel like the show does focus a little bit more on Cynthia than Barry, and the friendship that that Cynthia and Carole have, and how I imagine, I haven't done my research into this, but I imagine women writers were very rare in that time.
Yes, they were. I think especially composers. I think lyricists may have been a little more. There may have been more women lyricists. Sorry, English, But it was rare. It's definitely a male-dominated industry, so it was a good friendship that they were able to build together.
Bravo. Bravo. If you're looking for some fun, a little history, great tunes, beautiful, at Capital Rep through August 18th. See some homegrown, spectacular talent whenever you get the chance. Some invaders, interlopers.
Invaders.
Coming in, but bravo, guys. I know that you're on a tight schedule. You've got to get to the theater. We're just so thrilled that we had an opportunity to have you share some laughs, learn a little bit about the show, and break legs for the rest of the run.
Thank you so much.
I want to plug one thing, because I'm never not busy. We're doing a second annual Half Baked Festival, which is a festival of new works that are in progress, meaning half baked, not totally done, in process. We invite a lot of outside artists in. That is going to be Troy Foundry Theater's next sort of big project. That's going to be September 11th through 14th and 18th through 22nd. Looks like we're going to have like 14 to 16 brand new pieces. Some Troy Foundry, some from outside artists. A brand new play from Brian Sheldon that we're going to help develop with him, and a bunch of stuff from TFT. Some stuff from our friends in Diecast in Philadelphia, and a couple other folks in the area as well. And that's going to be multi-venue in Troy, mostly downtown. So we'll probably like 5 to 7 different locations over those 8 days. And then we have like 2 or 3 super secret, but we'll announce eventually, special events that are actually kind of in concert with that. One of them will probably be here at 518 Craft, the bar that Shannon and I currently own.
Well, you know what? Check, you get us the info. It'll be up on our website and our Gram. I gather it's not Insta anymore, it's Gram.
Yeah,
so,
great. Awesome.
Oh, just also really quick, Benita, since you're plugging that, I'm also going to mention tickets are now available for the Capital Region Festival of Theater. It's a huge, brand new start to a theater festival, hopefully nationwide, region-wide, to bring in all these different great theaters we have. And we're kicking it off with a party on October 27th at Cahoe's Music Hall, where there'll be
buy your tickets.
Yes,
Performances.
Troy Theater will be participating in that festival as well. So I'm kind of hoping something comes out of Half Baked. It would be really cool if one of our pieces from Half Baked ends up in that festival. It just would be a neat little kind of way to get to a full production, to go from like a plays in process festival to a kind of fringy kind of theater festival to like something into a full production. That's what we should have more of that in the Capital Region. And I know Cap Rep's going to be doing Next Act soon as well. I'm in Sherlock Carol at the end of the year and doing my one-man Carol. And Shannon's probably going to be casting a bunch of stuff soon too. You should check out the Hold On Honeys. That's Shannon Rafferty, Emily Curro, and Ray Malcolm.
And come on over to the Majestic Theater all of September and October in West Springfield, because I'm there doing Sheer Madness again. I'm in the family playing Mrs. Schubert. Gotta go.
Theater's back. Theater's back.
Theater's back. Guys, be well, be big, be great. Looking forward to seeing you. Everybody, everything theater. Stay in touch.
Thanks, guys. Bye,
Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.